السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنام وخاتم النبيين وعلى آله وصحبه ومن اهتدى بهديه واقتدى بسنته إلى يوم الدين وبعد. Brothers and sisters, again, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'm put in a very tough situation where I'm speaking after Imam Khalid Latif. In my opinion, and I have a very small opinion in this, but I think it has meaning. Two of my favorite speakers have been invited to this Pearls of Faith conference here. And the first one was Imam Khalid Latif. And the second one is the one speaking after me. So I'm honored to be in between. And I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us people of not just words, but people of action. Brothers and sisters, I know it is very late into the night. And this discussion of relationship of parents and children is a relationship that goes beyond just words, but into hearts. And anyone that is a child of a parent, of course all of us are, we sometimes neglect that relationship. And many times parents also pay the price of neglecting their own children. Before we are even in the process of naming our children, or even before we're in the process of proposing to our spouse, we've never thought about having a child equally and directly, what will happen with our children. But there's this excitement after marriage. And many times when people are delayed in blessing of children, there's a lot of prayers for children. And you find this in the prophets, ﷺ, in Prophet Ibrahim and Prophet Zechariah. And it's a natural instinct to have children and want children and love your children. You can imagine the emotions of the mother of Moses when she was told that the people of Pharaoh are outside your house, ready to butcher your son. What she was going through in those emotions. وَأَوْحَيْنَا إِلَىٰ أُمِّ مُوسَىٰ أَنْ أَرْضِعِيهِ. And God reveals to the mother of Moses, feed your child. فَإِذَا خِفْتَ عَلَيْهِ فَأَلْقِيهِ فِي الْيَمِّ. And when you fear the army has come near you, فَأَلْقِيهِ فِي الْيَمِّ. Basically, put your son into another moment of fear or vessel of fear. Put your son into the water. Put him into a basket, drop him into the water. You can imagine what the mother is going. There is an army of Pharaoh outside, ready to butcher this innocent child, this in the lap of the mother. And God is revealing to the mom, فَأَلْقِيهِ فِي الْيَمِّ. Drop your child into the river. وَلَا تَخَافِي وَلَا تَحْزَنِي. And don't worry, don't fear. Which is almost impossible. We send our children to universities that have everything possible in their necessities and means, but we're worried about them. Our children leave our homes, we're worried about them. We step away from their bedrooms, we're worried about them. We're a few feet away, we're worried about them. At this conference, I have 3 of my children in babysit. I'm worried about them. You can imagine a mother putting a child in the river. And Pharaoh is promised to kill any boy that is born. And God is saying, وَلَا تَخَافِي وَلَا تَحْزَنِي. Brothers and sisters, there are many times we have to apply the rule of God in our own families when we are afraid to discipline them under the rule of God. And this is what to be remembered. This is what needs to be remembered. The statement that was given by God to mother of Moses. We are not surrounded by one Pharaoh. We are surrounded by technology that is inviting our children not to physical harm but spiritual harm. And God is saying, fulfill my command. We are not getting direct revelation, but we do have the answer in revelation. أَلَّا تَخَافِي وَلَا تَحْزَنِي. Don't fear and don't worry. And anyone that knows anything basic of grammar on the meanings of khawf. Khawf is something that you fear upon yourself. And huzn is something you fear upon your family or someone else. These are the same words that were echoed by the friend of the Prophet ﷺ in the depth of the cave. When the Prophet ﷺ was told by Abu Bakr and he's weeping. And the Prophet ﷺ says, مَا ظَنُّكَ يَا أَبَا بَكْرٍ بِإِثْنَيْنِ اللَّهُ ثَالِثُهُمَا. What makes you weep, O Abu Bakr? He said, لَوْ نَظَرَ تَحْتَ قَدَمَيْهِ لَأَبَصَرَنَا. If they were to just look down, which is extremely natural when you walk up a hill and a mountain, they will spot us, the Quraysh. And I fear for you, Ya Rasulullah. And the Prophet ﷺ says, مَا ظَنُّكَ يَا أَبَا. What are you thinking about? We're not just 2, Allah is a 3rd who is protecting us. You may feel and seem and sense loneliness when you and your family are praying and practicing. Remember, Allah is on your side. أَلَّا تَخَافِي وَلَا تَحْزَنِي. And when Allah says in the Quran to the Prophet, expressing the sentiments of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, إِلَّا تَنْصُرُوهُ فَقَدْ نَصَرَهُ اللَّهُ إِذْ أَخْرَجَهُ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا ثَانِيَ اثْنَيْنِ إِذْ هُمَا فِي الْغَارِ إِذْ يَقُولُ لِصَاحِبِهِ لَا تَحْزَنْ إِنَّ اللَّهَ مَعَنَا. Don't worry. You can easily understand the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was the reason Abu Bakr was worried. Not because of his own physical harm upon Abu Bakr, but worried about what was happening to the Prophet ﷺ, the perceived harm that could happen to the Prophet ﷺ. So brothers and sisters, there's a strong relationship we have with our children. And I want to go into the message of Surah Maryam. Very beautiful, powerful message where you find a prophet of Allah, not just asking for Jannah or paradise or ability to do good, but asking Allah says, Kaf ha ya ayn sad, dhikru rahmati rabbika abadahu Zechariah, idh nada rabbahu nida'an khafiya. He's making this prayer in isolation, in solitude, in tahajjud. قال ربي إني وهن العظم مني. I'm old, my bones are weak. واشتعل الرأس شيبا. My hair has gone gray. And he speaks about his wife being barren and old. And he sees in another situation when he walks into the chamber of Maryam, كلما دخل عليها زكريا المحراب وجد عندها رزقا. He finds this fruits of off season in the platter in the lap of Maryam alayhi salam. أنى لك هذا. Where did you get this fruit from in the off season? And we are taught through this message, whenever you experience a miraculous support or help from God and you see it in your children, even in this convention right now, you might be at this level of faith that you've never experienced in months. It is time that you take most opportunity and make a prayer because it will be granted. This is why they say when you see the Kaaba, your du'as are accepted. There's no authentic hadith to prove that fact. But the reality is your iman and your dedication, the experience of emotions, the ecstasy of faith that is elevated at sight of the Kaaba enforces that dua will be accepted at the site. And this is where I derive that from. When he sees the fruits and the lap of Maryam alayhi salam. So where did you get this from? قالت هو من عند الله إن الله يرزق من يشاء بغير حساب. This is a miracle that came from God. This is the spontaneous supplication of a prophet of Allah. هنالك دعا زكريا ربه قال ربي هب لي من لدنك ذرية طيبة إنك سميع الدعاء. And right away, he didn't take a moment to think twice. He didn't walk home and say, let me make wudu. He didn't talk to his wife. He didn't counsel anyone. At the spot, he said, oh Allah, please give me a pious offspring. ذرية طيبة. And you will listen to all prayers. إنك سميع الدعاء. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells him in Surah Maryam, يا زكريا إنا نبشرك بغلام اسمه يحيى لم نجعل له من قبل سميا. Oh my prophet Zechariah, we know time has passed, your wife has aged, but the miracle of God will never become old, and you are blessed with a child by the name Yahya. And we've never given a child a name before. لم نجعل له من قبل سميا. We will give you the child and we'll do you a favor, we will name it for you. How many times we have children, we're still worried and debating, what's the name, what's going to happen? I remember having my second child, Zechariah. I didn't know what to name him. So the hospital discharged my wife and my baby without a name. 3 days later, I went to the department and I registered him as Zechariah. And it is a beautiful name. And I'm blessed with the daughter, Maryam, also. So here I am talking about both of them. It wasn't really planned like that. I really didn't have a choice when I came to naming my children. It was all my wife. You know? Nevertheless, he makes his prayer and God answers his prayer. In this surah, there is so much about to happen. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminds us about Zechariah, his son Yahya. وَحَنَانًا مِن لَدُنَّا وَزَكَاةً وَكَانَ تَقِيًّا وَبَرًّا بِوَالِدَيْهِ وَلَمْ يَكُنْ جَبَّارًا عَصِيًّا. We made him soft, we made him humble, we made him righteous, because the father was righteous and he was obedient to his parents. بِوَالِدَيْهِ. There are two prophets that were given prophethood before the age of 40. Both of them, Allah discusses their manner of conduct with their parent. One was Yahya, because when you're young, you get educated, you start to fly and your wings start to move faster than your parents. Oh, mom, you don't know how to check this app? You don't know nothing. You're old school. Our parents might say something in their accent, Indian or Pakistani, Arab accent. They might say, babgurun, popcorn, popcorn. Dad, it's not popcorn, it's popcorn. You know, can I have some pizza? It's not pizza. No, not pizza. It's pizza. And we start to degrade them because of their accent. And sometimes when you think you're more educated than your parents and they have mistakes in front of you, you start to belittle them. Can you imagine the volume of knowledge coming on these two children who are Yahya and Isa, and Allah is making that clear they were respectful to their parents. وَبَرًّا بِوَالِدَيْ, and Yahya and in Isa, وَبَرًّا بِوَالِدَتِي. Didn't have a father. And he says himself, I am obedient to my mother. But there is this relationship and correlation between a mother and a father and the children. The parents are praying before the child's birth, for a righteous child. Brothers and sisters and mothers and fathers, we start to worry about the righteousness and the navigation of our children when they start to derail. My son or my daughter are involved in drugs. My daughter is involved in bad company. The attitude of my daughter, the behavior and conduct of my son, now I need to be alarmed. But here is Zechariah, give me a child, and if you're going to give it to me, make it pious. And this is the prayer of the righteous. رَبَّنَا هَبْ لَنَا مِنْ أَزْوَاجِنَا وَذُرِّيَّاتِنَا قُرَّةَ أَعْيُنٍ وَاجْعَلْنَا لِلْمُتَّقِينَ إِمَامًا. And give us children and spouses with a coolness to our eyes. How do we expect the future to ever have a blossom or future that will live beyond our life if we can't even raise the present who are our children to live that and rise that torch? We can speak and talk and lecture and scream and share ideas, but if the parents are not doing their duty, the school is a fraction to that. The masjid is a fraction to that. There is no substitute to parenting. There is no substitute to parenting. This is why I recommend to the parents to read The Collapse of Parenting by Leonard Sachs. The way he speaks of how today's society has lost the skill of parenting. We have to ask ourselves, why is my son speaking back to me? Why is there such a loss in religion in our generation? So this is a phenomenon that we're suffering from. And parents are worried. There are many mothers who are sleepless, who are sleeping, who are restless at night, who are worried during the day, and there are many fathers who've just lost hope. So brothers and sisters, here comes the reminder. And the next, Allah says in a few verses down, وَاذْكُرْ فِي الْكِتَابِ مَرْيَمَ. Remember the story. Talk about the story of Maryam. And then in verse number 30, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, let's talk about our prophet Ibrahim. وَاذْكُرْ فِي الْكِتَابِ إِبْرَاهِيمَ. A man who was the Khalil, the friend of Allah, but had to deal with a father who was not just a pagan, but he was a man who carved idols and invited towards idol worshiping. But he had to deal with such a parent. And he was able to foster this relationship. And 4 times he addresses his father in these verses. Ya abati, lima ta'budu ma la yasma'u wa la yubsiru wa la yughni anka shay'an. And he speaks with him in the most humble, respectful conduct. A father that was an idol worshiper, he engraved and carved idols. That was his occupation, invited towards idol worship. But a man who was Khalil never lost respect of a father who was calling against his message. Ya abati, lima ta'budu ma la yasma'u wa la yubsiru wa la yughni anka shay'an. Ya abati, inni qad ja'ani min al-'ilm. Imagine a son saying to his father, oh my father, I know what you don't know. Wow, get out of here. Imagine your son comes home, Dad, did you pray Asr? Bahut pad liya bachpan mein. I prayed before I got married, don't ask me questions. Who are you? Imagine the son Ibrahim is saying, قَدْ جَاءَنِي مِنَ الْعِلْمِ مَا لَمْ يَأْتِكَ. You have no clue of what has come to me. فَاتَّبِعْنِي. Now further he's saying, you have to follow me. You have to follow me. It was a tough pill for my father to swallow when I became Hafid and he said, you have to lead Salah because my tajweed is not as good as yours. So brothers and sisters and friends, so the relationship goes on both sides. There needs to be this fostering ideology of mindset where we are focused on our children. There was a time when mothers and fathers raised their children. Now a time came when they had grandparents raise them because they were occupied in occupations. Grandparents in the village raised them. We don't have that luxury. A time comes when we get the nannies and the babysitters that raise them. But if you want your child to be the way you want, you have to raise them. You have to raise them. And now there is lack of babysitters. Even in their presence, you come and you see they're being raised by tablets. They're being raised by the cartoon characters. And you don't find anyone in the cartoon characters that's giving adhan like Bilal. That's teaching character like Uthman. And they're going to become cartoons. And then you wonder 12 years later, what is happening to the Nickelodeon dude? He's a channel, walking channel of Nickelodeon in your home. And mothers find that the easiest way. I have to cook, I have to eat. We got guests coming, give them the tablet. I have seen children from the emergency rooms of the hospital to the backspace of the masjid sitting on tablets. And we're wondered, or we're confused, we're perplexed, and we are easy to blame others. Brothers and sisters, there is no reason for a child to disrespect their parents, but it is the responsibility of the parents to raise them respectful, to raise them obedient. And all the children who are here, the young ones and those who are alive and whose parents are alive and they enjoy their luxury, there is no greater blessing than having your parents alive and serve them. A man comes to the Prophet ﷺ, Ya Rasulullah, uridu an ujahid ma'ak. I want to serve you. I want to serve you. And the Prophet ﷺ, everyone around wanted to be in the company of the Prophet ﷺ. I want to serve you. The Prophet ﷺ, ahayyatun ummuka hayyatun? Is your mother alive? In the nearest meaning, he came from Yemen, from a distance. He says, yes, she's alive. He says, no, irji', go back to your mother, serve her. Then he gets up and he comes from the next position. He says, Ya Rasulullah, please. He insists, I want to serve you. I want to be the front, the back, the side, the general, the protector. I want to be your student. The Prophet ﷺ says, is your mother alive? He says, yes, go serve your mother. Another riwayah, a man comes and he says, I want to serve you. أُرِيدُ أَنْ أُبَايِعَكَ عَلَى يَدِكَ. I want to put my hand in your hand and give my life to you. Your husband hasn't even done that to you, my ladies. They put their hand in your hand and they're on their phone. All right? All the aunties are going like this. Yes, bilkul. How do I know? Because I do the same thing. So brothers and sisters, this man comes to the most blessed human who has the most blessed hand in the most blessed city with the most blessed opportunity into being a student of the greatest human. And the Prophet ﷺ turns his direction to a great blessing. To a great blessing. He said, is your mother alive? He said, yes. How did you leave your mother? In another narration, he said, I left my mother weeping. I left my mother weeping. So I want you to go back and make her smile and cheer her up like you made her tear. Make her smile. Brothers and sisters, I never hear a story of a mother saying to me, Shaykh, I've been calling my son, he's still stuck in the masjid. I never heard that before. And she's crying, my son's not picking up in the masjid. Today we only hear mothers cry and fathers cry when their children walk the wrong, dark, gloomy alleys of the world and desires and temptations. And that's a problem. And the Prophet ﷺ says, إِلْزَمْ رِجْلَهَا فَثَمَّ الْجَنَّةِ. To the first narrator, he says to this young man, go and sit by the feet of your mother. There is your paradise. There is your paradise. Time is constrained and there's a speaker that's going to speak after me and I want to give him the moment to express the wisdom that he has. But brothers and sisters, there is no blessing greater than the blessing of a mother. There is no blessing greater than the blessing of a father. They might not be as eloquent as you, might not be as savvy as you with technology, might not understand the culture that you're dealing with. But brothers and sisters, just sitting with them is your paradise. Smiling at them is the reward of Hajj and Umrah. Brothers and sisters, if you think you want to make a revolution and you want to be inspired by these programs, it starts with yourself and your parents. How many are people who are alive today wish they could smile and see their parents alive today? They just wish they could look at their father and talk to them. And Mufti Kamani said it earlier, so I just wish I can have my mom call me once more. And we don't value our parents who are alive. So this relationship is very powerful. There is no relationship more powerful after the relation with Allah and His Prophet than parents. We have to foster this relationship. Mothers and fathers who are here. Let me conclude where I started from. There are 9 prophets in sequence which are mentioned in Surah Maryam, starting with Zechariah. Allah says, and He brings up the sister who was the leading women of piety, Maryam. وَاذْكُرْ فِي الْكِتَابِ Maryam. Then He says, وَاذْكُرْ فِي الْكِتَابِ Ibrahim. Then He says, وَاذْكُرْ فِي الْكِتَابِ Musa, Idris. And He speaks about 9 prophets. And anyone that thinks they can be complacent and think, I have put my daughter and my son in an institute, I have buffered them and I have given what they need so they can hover themselves into paradise, that's a delusion. 9 prophets in sequence. And dead middle of that surah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks of their attributes. وَكَانَ يَأْمُرُ أَهْلَهُ بِالصَّلَاةِ وَالزَّكَاةِ. They pray, they gave charity. These are great humans and the greatest women that ever came to this world, Maryam alayhi salam. Allah speaks about their children and their struggles. Allah says, after 9 righteous men and women, فَخَلَفَ مِن بَعْدِهِمْ خَلْفٌ أَضَاعُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَاتَّبَعُوا الشَّهَوَاتِ فَسَوْفَ يَلْقَوْنَ غَيًّا. Who are you to think, I'm a scholar, I live in America or Canada or any part of the world, my children are protected inherently because I think I was born in Palestine and my parents are from Pakistan? Nothing. There are masajid that were built by the natives that migrated here from Palestine and Lebanon. Today those masajid are locked and sealed and hopefully open on Jum'ah. And their children are the children who are selling and dealing with the wrong and haram. Brothers and sisters, what do we see for our future of our children? Our children might attend our funeral, but are we guaranteed that our grandchildren will also pray for their parents? And we can already feel the sense of loss of religiosity and piety and dedication. Religion itself overall is in a decline. But brothers and sisters, we have no excuse when we have the Prophet's teachings and the revelation within us. It is important that we harvest and we foster this relationship. I want you to think about your son or your daughter, or your grandson or your granddaughter. And if you are selfish and that's what all you're going to think about, but I think it is time that we also think about our community in large. What is going to happen to the next generation? What's going to happen? And we have multiple stories. I've sat with a father who's gone through a financial hardship, marriage hardship. He went through the biggest turmoils in life. And when you hear his stories, you're like, man, how are you still alive? And when he went through a hardship with his eldest son, he says to me, Shaykh Abdullah, I'm strong. I took tides and waves and storms, but I can't take the pain of my son being disobedient. That's my weakness. That's my soft spot. I gave him everything and I'll do everything for him. But brothers and sisters, we cannot give up on our children because Yaqub never gave up on his children. That sabrun jameel is translated as if Yusuf was lost only. That's how we translate it. فَصَبْرٌ جَمِيلٌ. Oh, the loss of Yusuf requires sabr, patience. But let me give you the other side of that sabr. You also had to be patient with those 11 other brothers who were in part of this crime. And he kept them under the same roof. He fed them in the same home. And end of the day, قَالَ سَوْفَ أَسْتَغْفِرُ لَكُمْ رَبِّي. The father repents for those same children. So never lose hope in your children. And start early as possible. Teach them the Quran. Teach them the language of Arabic. Raise them in the company of pious. Give them an opportunity. Enforce them in the principle of salah. There is no compromise in your children, in your home, in giving up prayer. Doesn't matter what venue you are. وَأْمُرْ أَهْلَكَ بِالصَّلَاةِ وَاصْطَبِرْ عَلَيْهَا. Make your children love prayer. Make your children love Islam. Not just see it from a rigid academic perspective. Make your children enjoy Islam. That doesn't mean you just, you get up and start clapping and say, Allah Muhammad. No. Sit down with them and show them beautiful people who brought this beautiful tradition to this beautiful place so we can be beautiful and reflect this beauty to the rest of the world. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make our children the coolness to our eyes. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us the coolness to their eyes. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make our spouses the coolness to each other's eyes. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to resurrect us and our children in the company of the righteous. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when we leave this world, we are proud to leave a legacy behind who will raise the banner of Islam, keep their torch lit. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept all this company of gatherings who are sitting here and resurrect us and unite us in the gardens of Rahman. Wa akhiru da'wan alhamdulillahi bil alamin.